When he first started rapping, he was the first person to start rapping with the fast lyrics and putting all these words together, and you could still understand him. I know his songs were always very street in the hood, always appreciated, and he could cross over and still people all over the world could appreciate.
And the Grammy goes to...
You look so pretty.
Cowboy Carter.
I remember you said you were scared, and so was I.
Oh, and we can flow for y'all, because, you know, we
can rap.
We can flow so well, you know. We're going to put out a Destiny Child album, Rapology, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I can challenge Jay-Z.
Yeah.
Psych. That boy's got too much skills for me, buddy. No?
I just got a question.
What that is?
How you keep your rhymes so tight?
You know, it come like the abs. I just work on it for sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's how you got all the ladies. Say your name, say your name.
All right. I hope you can say it. But on you know.
She was our age. It's just scary because that could have been any one of us. And she was an angel, and I know that now she's with God.
I don't want to embarrass this young lady, but she has more Grammys than everyone and never won Album of the Year. So even by your own metrics, that doesn't work. Think about that. The most Grammys, never won Album of the Year. That doesn't work. You know, some of you gonna go home tonight and feel like you've been robbed. Some of you may get robbed. Some of you don't belong in the category. Oh, no, that was it. No, when I get nervous, I tell the truth.
They say the bigger the star, the harder the fall. And right now, that saying is hovering over Beyonce in a way nobody expected. Because this isn't just another messy headline or internet rumor. This time, the noise isn't coming from random blogs or faceless accounts. It's coming from someone with access, someone with confidence, and someone openly daring Jay-Z to call him directly. And when someone does that publicly, it changes the entire energy. Behind the scenes, phones are ringing, lawyers are moving, media clips are being edited. And Beyonce, she's completely silent. That silence is what has everyone paying attention. Because silence doesn't always mean innocence. Sometimes it means preparation. And once you understand what's allegedly being held back, why the timing is so dangerous, and what's really at stake financially, this stops feeling like gossip and starts feeling like a storm forming in real time. But to understand how we got here, we have to start with the moment everything shifted. Jason Lee didn't whisper his warning. He didn't hint quietly. He said it out loud on his own platform with zero hesitation. "Stop having people call me," he said. "You can call me yourself." That wasn't subtle. That was a challenge. What made it even darker was what came next. Lee went on to say that if anything happened to him, if he suddenly disappeared, there would be a clear trail pointing back to the people trying to silence him. People don't talk like that unless they believe they're protected by something. And that's what instantly raised eyebrows. This wasn't clout-chasing behavior. This wasn't someone fishing for attention. This was someone acting like they had leverage and weren't afraid to use it. Even more telling, reports started circulating that Beyonce's legal team had already reached out behind the scenes, trying to shut things down before anything was released. Think about that for a second. If nothing was coming, why reach out at all? That doesn't look like confidence. That looks like urgency. And urgency usually means something real is burning behind closed doors. But who exactly is Jason Lee? And why does his voice matter? Jason Lee isn't some random blogger trying to go viral. He's deeply embedded in the entertainment space. He's built relationships, sat in rooms most people never get access to, and positioned himself close enough to power to hear things long before the public does. That proximity changes everything. Because when someone outside the system talks, it's easy to dismiss. When someone inside the orbit speaks confidently, people start listening. Lee hasn't just hinted at information, he's openly suggested that what he has could end careers and lead to prison time. Those aren't casual words, and he hasn't backed down once. At the same time, Beyonce hasn't issued denials. No lawsuits, no statements, no carefully crafted PR spin, just silence. And in moments like this, silence doesn't feel calm. It feels calculated. But Jason Lee didn't emerge in a vacuum. The timing of this situation is what makes it truly explosive, because the industry is already unstable. Sean Diddy Combs is behind bars, facing federal charges tied to trafficking-related allegations, racketeering, and transportation tied to alleged illegal activity. A trial is set. Witnesses are stacking up. Evidence is reportedly mounting. At the same time, documentaries are resurfacing old footage and reopening questions people thought were buried forever. And then there's 50 Cent. He hasn't been subtle either. He's openly calling out Jay-Z, posting old photos, questioning loyalty, and hinting that certain relationships may not survive what's coming next. When someone like 50 starts poking publicly, it's rarely random. This isn't just about one person falling, it's about what happens when power structures begin to crack. Because when one domino drops, others don't stand untouched for long. And Beyonce? She's now standing close enough to the blast zone that distance may no longer protect her. But to understand why this feels so serious, you have to rewind to the image that was never supposed to break. For decades, Beyonce and Jay-Z built an empire on control. Control of narrative. Control of image. Control of timing. Then came 2016. Lemonade dropped, and the world learned Jay-Z had been unfaithful. The elevator footage with Solange resurfaced. Divorce rumors exploded. Suddenly, the curtain slipped, just enough for people to realize the perfection wasn't bulletproof. But that was manageable. That was personal drama. That was image repair. What's happening now is different. This isn't about relationships. This is about proximity to alleged criminal behavior. And lawsuits did what rumors never could. They put names, dates, and locations on paper. Earlier this year, a lawsuit alleged that Diddy, Jay-Z, and Beyonce were present at a 2015 event where a man was allegedly drugged and humiliated. Their legal teams later presented evidence showing they weren't there, and their names were removed. But the damage was already done. Because once your name enters the conversation, trust doesn't fully recover. And the biggest question never went away. If they weren't there, where were they? And what else hasn't been fully explained? But the legal trouble didn't stop there. Fast forward, and Jay-Z was named in another lawsuit involving allegations connected to events from 2000 involving a minor. He has strongly denied the claims, calling them blackmail and saying he will fight them fully in court. His legal team fired back aggressively. But here's the part that made people pause. Blackmail only works when there's something someone doesn't want exposed. And Diddy's collapse has already shown that secrets don't stay buried forever, no matter how much influence or money is involved. At the same time, federal investigators are digging deeper. And when federal scrutiny expands, it rarely shrinks. That's why Jason Lee's timing suddenly matters so much. Because now his claims aren't floating alone. They're landing in an environment already primed for exposure. And that brings us to the money. Because this isn't just emotional or reputational. This is financial warfare. Beyonce isn't just an artist, she's a corporation. Her 2025 tour alone is projected to generate close to $500 million from ticket sales, merchandise, and streaming partnerships. Parkwood Entertainment is valued in the hundreds of millions. Her catalog generates non-stop revenue. Ivy Park has brought in massive brand deals. At that level, scandal isn't inconvenient, it's catastrophic. Sponsors don't wait for verdicts. Investors don't wait for clarity. They move the second risk appears. We've seen this before. When controversy hits, brands distance themselves immediately. Algorithms shift, partnerships freeze, deals quietly disappear. That's why reports that Beyonce's team has allegedly slowed major moves, album releases, tour expansions, new partnerships, feel telling. Officially, it's always creative timing, but unofficially, it looks like a waiting game. Because momentum is everything in the music industry. Pause too long, and the moment slips away. Tours lose impact, albums get buried, brands move on to safer options. That's not paranoia, that's survival. And the most fragile asset of all? Her catalog. Music catalogs aren't just legacy pieces, they're financial leverage. They're borrowed against, invested in, treated like banks. But if your name turns toxic, those assets flip from valuable to radioactive overnight. We've watched this happen before. Once allegations stick, platforms quietly remove promotion, playlists disappear, visibility vanishes. Beyonce isn't just protecting her career, she's protecting a joint fortune, a family, and a legacy designed to last generations. That kind of pressure doesn't create panic out of nowhere. Which brings us back to the silence. Silence can be strategic, but it can also be revealing. While Beyonce has said nothing, reports suggest pressure is being applied behind the scenes, media figures adjusting interviews, clips being edited, conversations being erased instead of confronted. One example raised eyebrows across the industry. Journalist Piers Morgan previously aired Jaguar rights claims involving Jay-Z. After legal pressure, that interview was edited, not apologized for, altered. That doesn't happen unless someone feels exposed. Ask yourself this: why step in at all unless the claims hit too close to home? This doesn't look like silencing one voice. It looks like trying to erase the record. And when history starts getting rewritten, it usually means the truth is dangerous enough that someone doesn't want it visible, which leads back to the question nobody can answer. What's on those recordings? Jason Lee claims the calls aren't just coming from Beyonce's side, but from Jay-Z's as well. And that matters. Jay-Z isn't known for panicking, he's known for distance, calculation, and letting lawyers speak. So if he's personally involved, or sending people to reach out, that signals fear, not confidence. Insiders claim legal teams are working non-stop. Strategies are being mapped. Pressure is coming from every angle. But there's a problem with that strategy. You can't sue someone for what they're thinking about releasing. You can't stop federal investigators from digging. And you can't erase the past if it was recorded. Evidence doesn't disappear quietly. It leaks. It gets used. It gets played, and powerful figures rarely fall alone. Diddy's collapse didn't happen in isolation. It exposed a web, people who allegedly enabled behavior behind closed doors. Jay-Z's name is now attached to lawsuits. Beyonce's proximity is under scrutiny. Documentaries are reopening old wounds. And Jason Lee isn't backing down. He's waiting. And that's what makes this moment so unsettling. Because this isn't about embarrassment, it's about exposure. If recordings exist, and if they show more than poor judgment, this stops being about PR and becomes something far heavier. That's why this doesn't feel like it's going away. It feels like it's building. So now we're left with the real question. Why is Beyonce's team acting like people bracing for impact? Why delay major money-making moves? Why apply pressure instead of dismissing the noise? Fear doesn't come from rumors. Fear comes from knowing something the public doesn't. Maybe it's the recordings. Maybe it's the lawsuit still unfolding quietly. Maybe it's boardroom conversations where sponsors are already drafting exit strategies. Whatever it is, one thing is clear. This isn't a PR cleanup. It's a survival strategy. And if the people closest to the situation are this shaken, it raises a serious question for everyone watching. What happens if the evidence surfaces? Because if it does, this isn't about losing a crown or a headline. It's about an empire at risk, and empires don't collapse from gossip. They collapse from proof. Now we want to hear from you. Do you think Jason Lee really has the recordings? Or is this a high-stakes power play spiraling out of control? Drop your theories in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay locked, because this story is far from over.